Whose idea was it for me to speak after my wife? I've gotten to hear it for weeks, too. Magical. I guess before I start my actual message, I have to say I have such an affinity and love for this space, and it is so good to hear it used for music again and again and again, and thank you for being a part of that. James Baldwin once wrote, "The precise role of the artist is to illuminate the darkness, blaze roads through the vast forest, so that we will not, in all our doing, lose sight of its purpose." There's something breathtaking in this image. Artists as torchbearers and gentle guides leading us through places where our words grow thin. Baldwin reminds us that art is not a luxury or an ornament. It is a companion, a way forward and a way home. And so gathered in this sanctuary filled with music, we honor that role. We honor the courage of the artist. We honor the deeply human urge to cultivate beauty. And we honor something quieter within ourselves, the longing to listen, not only with our ears, but with our whole selves. There is a sacredness that arises when we listen with intention. Before the mind has time to evaluate or interpret, something in us responds. A chord catches our breath, a phrase awakens a memory. It is as though the heart has its own ears. We often talk about listening as a skill set, useful for communication, conflict resolution, and teamwork. But in a spiritual community, listening is not simply a tool. Listening is a practice, an intention, a way of showing up. Listening is how we pay attention to what wants to be born. It is how we soften enough to be moved. It is how we learn what it means to be human together. Listening in a very real sense is one of the holiest things that we do. There's a kind of listening that goes beyond the ears. Call it intuition, call it spirit or presence, or simply paying attention with your whole self. It's the kind of listening that artists practice each time they sit down at a page or a keyboard or a blank canvas. A deep listening for what is trying to emerge. The product that you would have heard 2 hours ago with Crystal and the Quartet, and soon Crystal, Jen, and the Quartet, is a different product than what you will hear in the moment, because you will experience these musicians live, listening to one another, looking to birth something absolutely beautiful in this shared space. In our UU tradition, we name this as a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We name it as the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We name it as the independent, interdependent web of all existence. All of these principles are, in their own ways, invitations to listen, to ourselves, to one another, and to a world that holds us. Some people think it's okay if it's you. This isn't an admonishment. Some people think music is what happens after the message, the thing you add to the service to make it nice, maybe even the reason that you come sometimes. But here in this space, we know better. Music is not the accompaniment to worship. Music is a part of the worship and builds the worship. Music is what happens when listening becomes its own kind of prayer. It is what takes shape when body, breath, intention, community all meet in the same moment and say, yes. The choir knows this. Anyone who has ever risked making music knows this. Anyone who has ever been held in the arms of a song knows this. Music asks us to listen with our whole being, to the breath, to the pulse, to one another. You cannot sing in community without practicing deep, generous, intentional listening. In a world that so often rewards noise, this is a radical act. And it is here that Leonard Bernstein's words come to meet Baldwin's. In the days after the assassination of President Kennedy, Bernstein wrote, "This will be our reply to violence, to make music more intensely, more beautifully, more devotedly than ever before." Bernstein wasn't calling for escapism. He wasn't prescribing denial. He was naming a truth that so many of us feel in our bones, that in moments of fear, grief, conflict, and unimaginable loss, something in us reaches for beauty, not as a decoration, but as oxygen. Violence narrows our world. Art widens it again. Violence tries to silence art while art invites us to listen to ourselves, to each other, to the ancient and ongoing call of compassion and courage. When Bernstein says more intensely, more beautifully, more devotedly, he is not speaking to the musicians in the room. He is speaking to all of us who dare to live fully in the face of despair. He is speaking to anyone who keeps showing up with tenderness when the world feels sharp. He is speaking to communities like ours who choose hope not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. To make music, in Bernstein's sense, is to participate wholeheartedly in the sacred work of being human, to refuse to let cruelty define the boundaries of our imagination, to insist on beauty, to insist on connection, and to insist that the human spirit still has something to offer this fractured world. This is where the Lakmé flower duet blossoms into our service, not simply as a piece of music, but as a testament to what beauty can do in a difficult time. The flower duet is, at its heart, a conversation between two voices, distinct but intertwined. It is a duet built on listening, one voice offering a phrase, the other responding, the two shaping space for one another, breathing together, creating something that neither could create alone. It is a reminder that harmony grows when we pay attention. Community is built on the small, subtle ways that we respond to one another. That beauty emerges not from sameness, but from relationship, from honoring difference, not erasing it. In just a few minutes, when the flower duet enters the sanctuary, it brings with it the reminder that harmony, literal and metaphorical, is always an act of devotion. It is what happens when we choose connection over isolation, companionship over despair, and listening over noise. The duet is its own lantern in the dark. We live in a time when so much feels loud. Outrage, headlines, algorithms, the clatter of urgency, the pressure to react. But the sacred does not shout. The sacred whispers. It waits for us to turn our attention toward it. It waits for us to breathe and to listen. And so my plea this morning is simple. In these dark and challenging days, don't pull away from art. Move toward. Let it steady you. Let it remind you what matters, and let it be the lantern you carry. Listen to the music that cracks you open. Listen to the stories that widen your compassion. Listen to the silence just after a truth enters a room. Listen to the people around you, like really listen. Listen to the still small voice that lives beneath all the din. As Baldwin said, art helps us make a world a more human dwelling place. Bernstein said, art is our reply to violence. And as we know here in this spiritual community, listening is how the sacred finds us. Art is how we answer back. Your showing up here today is an act of resistance, an act of hope. May we listen deeply. May we create boldly. May we keep making the world together a more human dwelling place.
Thank you.